Ladies and gentlemen, we are here with another Bridging the Gap video. Trying to bridge the gap between men and women here, show men and all you women that we're all the same. We all go through similar struggles in dating, in life, and all of that beautiful stuff. We are all human. I'm joined by two amazing humans. One who has called himself Taylor, another who has called herself Amanda. Amanda, do you want to maybe share a little bit about yourself and what you like to do and all of that good stuff?
My name is Amanda, as in who's that Amanda, and I'm here to hopefully make it as your future wingman, You can check out my channel. I got a bachelor's in the fine arts and a master's in the art of pickup, and I'm here to turn guys from simps into pimps.
Thank you for that beautiful intro. We've done a few collabs with Amanda in various formats, and we did at least two that I'm thinking of. One that I wasn't part of, one that was like a 6-person panel where we had you on there, Amanda. Mm-hmm. And my takeaway from some of those was just like, wow, I really just want to listen to Amanda more and learn more about Amanda, learn more about her, coaching, learn more about her personal journey with this stuff. And so, yeah, that's my goal today, is to just sit down with y'all and listen to a little bit more of the beautiful things that are inside of Amanda. Give her some space. So
thank you.
To start that out, Amanda, would you like to share a little bit, whatever you would like to share about your personal journey with dating?
I think from a young age, I had the cards stacked against me, if you will. I used to be obsessed with the Titanic when I was younger. And I think that played an extreme role in how I approached my dating life, to be quite honest with you, because I always viewed romance as something so sacred and so special. And I think in this day and age, things are changing. And I'm not saying that I viewed it from the 1950s kind of view either. Even beyond that, the story of Jack and Rose, what really got to me is Rose, she was suicidal, and Jack saved her life in more ways than one. And at the end of the film, essentially saved her life. So I watched that film when I was literally just came into consciousness. So I was literally barely sentient. I was 6.5 years old. I don't know why my parents let me watch that film alongside the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. These were the first films that I watched, the original one from the 60s or the 70s. These were the first films that I watched on the behalf of my parents. But yeah, so that played a vital role into how I approached dating. So when I was younger, I had this idea that romance was supposed to be something magical and something one of a kind. And then when I got to high school and my friends began dating and I myself began dating, I realized that the world didn't see romance and dating in the same exact way that I did. And this was crushing for me. And it was something that almost affected my identity and made me deeply insecure and confused, and followed by a lot of rejection, because I was always looking for something very, very deep and was met with the exact opposite on behalf of whatever I was attracting at the time.
Thanks for sharing that. I can definitely relate to some of that. Having grown up very Christian, I viewed dating as something very special and sacred, and a really deep connection you had with one person. So I can relate to a lot of threads in there.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm curious if you're cool with it. When you say that it wasn't met with a lot of acceptance, when you were younger and you started dating, was that kind of people were looking for something maybe more casual and it didn't really match up with your vision of what dating someone, what a romantic exchange would look like? Is that what you mean?
Yes, that's exactly what I mean. Yes.
Having spent a little time thinking about this stuff now and a few years into the future, how do you kind of see that stuff now? The stuff you were just talking about.
I have a lot of compassion for my 15-year-old self, at the time. And I feel, that's a good question. I feel very strongly it with her at this time. I do. I get where she was coming from, but it was very, very hard. And I almost had a protector part of me that wanted to protect like my friends that were experiencing dating themselves in a different way that I viewed it. And to this day, I still have that part like come out of me, like at times, like with friends and those types of things. So yeah, like I will say, looking back at it now, I'm glad that my younger self was so vehement and so strong about what I believed in, even though a lot of people will just write this off, because a lot of times I hear, "Oh, this is because of entertainment and film, like you've been fed these things by society." And although like there's some truth to that, I also like really disagree, like in my soul and in my gut, because I feel like, kind of wanting romance to be this magical thing. It's like, why should you be punished for that, you know?
Can we talk a little more? I want to hear more about specifics here. Like, what are you talking about? Like, are you talking about romantic gestures? You want a guy to buy you flowers? Is there something deeper there? You want like unconditional love and to be able to give that? Like, what are we talking about here? That you feel is or people are telling you is unrealistic?
I think the whole mentality in general is met with this idea like you're being unrealistic, like you're asking for too much, like, like just to have any sort of standard or any sort of ideal of having an emotional connection. First, you're being met with society's backlash of that. And then people will write you off as like, oh, you saw too many romance movies and that type of stuff. And this is not something I talk a lot about on my channel, but like I'm realizing as I say it, I hate that advice, like that you shouldn't, believe in that type of stuff. And I don't know why it's like taking me to now for me to like be so real about it, but I think it's just your guys' like energy as well. But that's just exactly how I feel. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things we do a lot with our coaching clients and with our audience is we're very clear about like, what do you want? And as long as it's something that, both people consent to and is positive for both of them, then we go in favor of that. And like, if you were to come to either of us and say like, hey, so I want romance and I want a connection first, and I guess as part of what you're saying, like I want to wait before I have sex, like is that part of what you're saying?
Part of what I'm saying is that I think for me in my mind, and I don't know why my mind is like this, but I think that intimacy like has to be paired with like a love on like a deeper level. And I think that's what my younger self was always seeking. And so it was at many times disappointing to be met with the way things are in our society and not resonating with it, but also not wanting to be like, I'm not talking about like this like trad wife like type of circumstance. Like that's also not what I mean. I'm not talking 1950s. I'm talking something different, like something deeper even than that in and of itself. Because I think that also is this airy fairy idea that kind of gets almost like weaponized as like this should be like. I personally don't think if you were like the 1950s dating or traditional dating, I'm not talking about traditional dating, because I also think that type of dating it comes with much restriction. This is the drawbacks of religion. This is like what I'm a spiritual person, but I have a lot of beef with the way religion presents itself. And it is from that, I'm not talking about something that's restricted, if that makes any sense. Like I'm not talking about it in that way. Does that make any sense? I hope that makes sense.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm starting to get like threads of what you would like. Can I just share like some of what my relationship with Natasha is like? Because I feel a lot of this stuff that you're talking about, I resonate with a lot of it. And just let me see if any of this stuff that we do like resonates with you. So
yes,
if I could kind of bridge the gap, so to speak, between like having like modern dating and having this really deep, intimate connection with someone. So like my partner Natasha and we met on Tinder. It was very casual in the beginning. Like we were both into BDSM and various other naughty things. Like it was just like this fun sexual connection in the beginning. And it's become something deep. We've been together about 2 years. I'm cool with sharing any thought in my head with her. Like she
Yeah.
knows the darkest parts of my soul. We leave each other love notes. We tell each other we're grateful for each other like all the time. And I mean, we we like stare into each other's eyes sometimes and like cry when we have sex. And sometimes, we do like BDSM and we're naughty and we have threesomes and whatever. So it's like I feel like we kind of do both pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're partners, we both respect each other on an intellectual level, as well as like we're able to just objectify each other and be like, wow, you're so sexy kind of thing.
Yes.
So if I'm picking up like what you're putting down, it's like that really deeply sharing yourself, feeling like there's a person you can like be best friends with and kind of be romantic partners with, that you can share like essentially every thought in your head with if you want to.
Yeah.
Is some of that stuff like basically, I think what Andy and I are getting at is like, if you could have like your perfect setup, like what would you want?
I think when someone understands you, that's huge. When someone sees you and can hold space for you, that's huge. It's not even a like a setup or something of this kind. It's more like it is like when someone can see you and hold space for you and not take your feelings for granted, which I feel like happens so often in dating and in my experience.
Can I tell you something?
Yes.
Imagine if you said no, this podcast would just die immediately right there. Almost everything you said. So this conversation started with me saying, what do you want? And then Taylor said to you, what do you want? And 95% of what you said was what you don't want.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's what you're communicating to the universe, to people, that is like the opposite of like manifestation. That's like, I mean, it is manifestation. You'll just attract all the people that are giving you what you don't want. Or like, if I say to you, what do you want? If your answer is very like you're still figuring it out, and that's beautiful. That's great. Like that's how we figure things out. What do you think happens if a guy meets you who's interested in you and he's like, hi, Amanda, what do you want? And maybe he wants romance and love and connection and all the things you're talking about. And you say, well, I don't want this. And society does this. And society sucks because of this. He's going to leave. He's going to go, well, I want to be with the person who can clearly state to me exactly what they want, which is I want romance. I want love. I want connection. I want to be there for each other. I want to love each other. And he's looking for that person who can just state that. Like he's screening for that person, especially the guy who wants exactly what you want. And I don't think anything you've said here is unrealistic. I kind of disagree with your statement that society thinks this is bad. That's just not my experience. My experience is like society loves romance. I'm not talking about hookup culture and the internet and Twitter and all of that. Like put that stuff aside. But like my experience is most people like romance and love and all of that, especially because I'm the person who loves that stuff as well. But I screen up front for a sexual connection first. That's the first thing I'm looking for. And then personality and all of that. I have so many people say to me, I don't want the sexual connection up first. I want the romance and the love and all of that. I get, quote, rejected or turned down by the people who are like you, who want the same thing as you. And I have female friends who are like, same thing. They're just looking to hook up or something like that. They get turned down or rejected by lots and lots of guys who are looking for exactly what you're looking for. And so it just isn't my experience. And I don't think our countries are that different, America versus Australia. They're basically the same. And it is my experience that a lot of people want what you're looking for. I think they're just looking for the person who's very certain about it. And you are. But at the same time, I feel like you're almost distracted by all of the things that you don't want. Your red flag list is the thing you're saying to people. And then they have to try and dig through that and go like, where's her green flags though? What is she looking for? Like red flags are just distracting. That's why I tell people, don't put red flags in your dating profile. Don't say red flags to other people. It just confuses everybody. Like say the green flags. So does any of that resonate with you? Am I way off base here?
Like possibly just a little bit in terms of like my own dating experience in quotes. But I do get what you're saying. I do get that there are people out there looking for romance, in quotes. But I do believe to my core that, like, the way our society is being raised with, like, this amount of disconnection, that there's going to be some, like, soul, like, dark night of the soul backlash. And I'm not saying that, like, stuff that what I'm looking for doesn't exist, but what I'm looking for is hard to find in my personal experience. Extremely hard. Like, not even a little, a lot.
If we sort of back up one step and even just get above the level of dating and romantic partnerships. I mean, you said you're basically looking for love and acceptance. Is that, like, fair?
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, are we not to some degree all looking for love and acceptance,
Yes,
whether
exactly.
it's from a friend, from anyone?
Yes.
I think we can all relate a hell of a lot to you, Amanda. I'm looking for those things too.
Thank you. Thank you. And yes, and even in a friend, in my experience, this has been hard to find. It is something deeper in the water. You know what I mean? And I'm not discounting what you said, because, like, those are some great points, but it's weird because in my personal journey, it's almost like not society, but the universe has this way of sort of giving you what you don't want before giving you what you actually want. And there's almost like a soul test energy, like, within that, if that makes any sense. And yeah, friendships are hard too. Like, for me to be fully seen and understood by a human being, whether it be romantically or friendship wise, it's not been easy to come by. If anything, it's been rare, few and far in between. And then in those in betweens creates anxiety, which then creates a wall in terms of searching what it is that you're looking for, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and then it becomes almost a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to say this in a way that still honors your experience. I'll say it like this. When I was convinced that romance, connection, and love, which was ultimately what I was looking for, was really hard and maybe impossible, then it was really hard and maybe impossible. And as that belief started to fade away, and I started to open my mind to the possibility that maybe it wasn't hard to connect with people, maybe I just didn't know how to do it, and maybe it was more about me than society or other people. As I opened my mind to that possibility, I went outside yesterday and I talked to 7 people, and I deeply, like 7 women that I approached, and I deeply, 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 deeply connected with like 5 of them. And when I say deeply, I mean there was one woman that I walked past and she was sitting in a cafe and she looked up at me with beautiful blue eyes and she just looked into my fucking soul. And I just stopped and I looked into her eyes, and we must have had like 20 or 30 seconds of eye contact. You know, I'm sitting down, we're still maintaining eye contact. And I was like, you have just the most beautiful eyes. And she said, you have the most beautiful eyes. And I was like, oh my God, we're still maintaining eye contact. And I was like, are you single? She's like, I have a fiance, still maintaining eye contact. And I was like, I hope you guys have the most incredible, beautiful relationship. I hope you guys have the most amazing wedding and the most beautiful marriage. And she said, oh my God, like, thank you. That means so much to me. And I was like, I hope you have a really nice day. Like, thank you for this moment. She was like, thank you. And then I left. Like, connection is there. It just is there. That's one out of the 7 women that I talked to. I could tell you stories about each. I did a video about this yesterday. Like, this is just my experience now as I've opened myself up to the possibility that I might just have been not fully correct when I said that it was really hard to build connections. I met a woman, you know, a girl and I, her name is Nisha. This girl and I, Nisha, that, you know, we're dating right now, we met some woman on a train and we just bonded with her. Like, we just became like instant friends like that. Like, I didn't do anything. I connect with guys out there. I connect with girls. Like, I just connect with people as I've opened myself up to the possibility that, like I said, maybe it wasn't entirely the full story to say that society's disconnected and it's hard to connect and all of that. And I hear that all the time. And that's why I'm saying I'm trying really hard to honor your story, because your story is true. I'm not saying you're wrong. I think we make these things into binary. Like, who's correct? Is Andy correct that it's easy to make connection? Is Amanda correct that it's hard? No, neither of us are wrong. Neither of us are right. Like, it's just our experience. And I guess what I'm trying to say in a way is like, there is a pathway in front of you, Amanda, and it involves what you're doing now and what you've done on your channel the entire time, which is vulnerability. It requires you fucking just putting your heart out there and going like, please don't break this. I just want to be loved and I just want to love someone else. And that's really scary. Like, you know, that's scary. I don't have to tell you that that's scary. It's scary for me too. But like, as you keep doing this more, I'm telling you, some of the stories that you're stuck on right now, like it's really hard to form connections, they will fade away. And you'll go, even if it's hard to form connections, I'm getting better at it every day. Little bit of vulnerability every day. I'm getting better at this. Like, you might be fully correct that it's really hard to form connections in society. Like, I don't freaking know. I haven't tested all of society. I just know that there are enough people out there who want to connect with you and connect with me and connect with Taylor. I just know that there are enough people out there who want a really deep friendship. And those people say the same thing as you. They're like, this is really hard. That's constantly what I hear from women that I date, from friends. They're like, it's so hard to find my people who want something deeper. I promise you, Amanda, those people exist. Yes, you might have to dig amongst the weeds and hunt really hard. Like, yeah, I agree with you, Amanda. It's not just like 97% of people out there want a deep connection. I don't know. I think like 50% of people aren't even capable of being honest right now. Maybe it's more than that. A whole bunch of people are just not even remotely capable of like deep vulnerability. They are with practice. They are if you teach them how to do that. But right now, as they are, no, they won't be vulnerable with you. They'll just want to fuck you, and that's about it. But there are enough people out there if you go hunting. I promise they're out there.
Yeah, and I don't do that. Yeah.
I'd be curious to know how you would rate yourself on, like, if someone wanted the stuff that Amanda wants and came to you, you know, either as a friend or as a romantic partner, and was like, I'm really looking just for something a bit deeper, I'm really just looking for like this love and acceptance. Like, how would you rate yourself on being able to be the person you're looking for?
Honestly, not so. Part of it is that I believe that when you haven't been met with love and acceptance, you then have a lot of conditioning to work through. And you have a lot of different parts, like protective parts to work through as well. So if someone hypothetically came to me looking for the same thing, you know, I've held space for people, friends, and otherwise that have come to me not looking for that same thing at all whatsoever. It's complex. It's a matter of, you know, what we're dealing with today, which is a society of disconnection. And yes, there are people out there that offer those connections. I'm not trying to like say that, but like the way that I look at it is, what is the universe putting so many people through right now? It's through something similar to my story or Bill and Bob's story, which is like even less about, I've not had anyone to connect with, period. Why is the universe doing this? Like, why is the universe isolating all of us? Like, why did it take so much for us to connect? Quote unquote, connect, whatever that means. Like, you guys have been through your own pain and your own journey. And like, you have to understand, like, why? Like, what was it that drove you guys to be in this career of dating advice? Like, what's the why behind that? If it was so simple, you guys probably wouldn't be here in general. If that makes sense.
First of all, the thing I want to say is, Amanda, I think you're way better at this than you give yourself credit for. Like, Taylor just basically asked you a question of like, how vulnerable do you think that you could be if you were to meet a guy or meet a friend? And then you answered that with like ridiculous amounts of vulnerability.
Thank you.
Like, and I don't just say that to flatter you. Like, I think you're really fucking good at this. And I mean, I can ask you, because I had the same thing too. Do you ever have the story, and maybe Taylor, I'd love to hear this from you. Do you guys ever have the story of like, I need to like fix my shit? I need to fix myself more before I can like be friends with people or like love them? Because I still have that sometimes today. Like, is that there for you guys?
Oh, for sure. For sure, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, because it's like, why would you not want to think like that? Like every part of me has to be fixed because when you're socially interacting for the first time, every part of you is about to get triggered. So it's like, how do I not get triggered in this connection?
I mean, part of that is just owning it. Like, that's kind of what I've done on my channel. I know you're talking about doing the same thing on your channel. It's like you just own it. You just put your hand up and you're like, "Hi, I don't know what the hell I'm doing." Like Taylor and I just had a long series of phone calls and stuff in the last week where I'm like, "Taylor, I have no idea what I'm doing," and he's like, "Andy, I have no idea what I'm doing." And we're supposed to be coaches and we're supposed to have a YouTube channel. There's like 70,000 subscribers and we don't know what we're doing. And he's like, "Yeah, but does anyone on this planet know what they're doing?" No. Okay, at least we're being honest about that. Like.
Exactly.
Yeah, maybe I'll turn your question back on you. Like, we've heard a lot about your journey with dating. We've heard about where you're at now. How did that tie in with you getting into wanting to coach people on this very topic?
For me, it's sort of like it's the generation, it's the collective. I don't think we hold space for our own loneliness. You know what I mean? Like behind so many addictions is the pain of being alone and the pain of lacking a fundamental community from like when you were born. Or if you had a community, it was like toxic or superficial, that type of thing. So I think what's driven me to getting into this work is those life experiences. Like I think I was born in this generation for a reason. And I think it has a lot to do with what this generation is offering in terms of connection or lack thereof.
Because you sought out communities, right? Like, I think, did you intentionally go to like incel communities? Like, how did you find those communities? Did you like Google "I'm lonely"? Like, how did it sort of start?
Well, it sort of started when I was in high school. I like Googled dating advice for women. And then when COVID hit, I Googled dating advice for men because I was just so curious. Like, if men, I just assumed that men didn't even have any dating advice. Like, I just like assumed that. And like around
Like you wanted to know what it was like from the other side. And I've set up a Tinder profile before, like as a woman, just to see what
Me
that
too.
experience is
Yep.
like. Have you ever done that, Andy? Okay, so yeah,
so many times.
we're
Yes,
like,
yes.
I wonder what that's like.
Yeah. And then I clicked on a video about like something, and then I got connected with somebody named Noah. I don't think he has a YouTube channel anymore, and that's how I met Pierre, who I have a lot on my YouTube channel. His name is Glow Pierre.
Yeah.
Yes. And it was through getting connected with them that I actually started to look at my channel as something that has potential, because it was them telling me that my perspective means a lot or it has potential.
Yeah, your perspective is like, I mean, the entire point of this video here today and like this series of Bridging the Gap. Like, it sounds like a funny thing to say, but like, as a woman, you just have a different perspective. The same as me. Like, some of my female friends are like, "Holy crap, Andy, I love listening to you give me dating advice because you'll tell me stuff that like my female friends won't tell me." And then you're doing the same thing. Like, I don't know, man. I feel like the way that we figure things out between the two genders, if there is a bit of a gap, is by talking to each other. Taylor was the one that said that to me as well a couple of weeks ago. It's like, it's weird that we have a channel giving advice to men and not having women on there. And I had Imi, my partner, on here 100 times, but like, yeah, it's funny how we try and secretly figure things out. We get our little posse of men, or women get their little group of girls, and they sit around and they gab with each other. And how can we figure out men? It's like, I don't know. Why don't you freaking ask one? Why is there no man here in this group right now trying to give some advice? Because he might have something interesting to say.
Yeah, and when we have people that are working on this, and this was my path to understanding women better, the number one thing is to just go ask them. Like, go ask them what you're wondering about. Go tell them, "Hey, this is how I see things. Like, how do you see things?" Yeah. And so this is us doing that with you. So thank you, Amanda. I appreciate you a lot.
No problem.
On that note, a lot of guys have this idea in their mind and I kind of did too, that if you're born into this world, our beautiful world, as an attractive woman, you just have this kind of cush ride of life. And like abundance in life is just handed to you on this silver platter genetically somehow. And I used to think that myself, and it, naturally created some feelings in me. And has that been your experience with life? Has this just been a chill go of it?
Um, no, but I can totally like imagine like and see like why that can be the feelings, because I think on either side like the grass is always greener, if you know what I mean. And I think like that's just the nature of it. But definitely not like we're all here for an entire human experience, no matter what gender, race, or identity you are at the end of the day, if that makes any sense.
Has it been, I guess, how does it feel for you if people like dismiss your struggles and they say, but you're pretty?
Yeah. But you can have your pick of guys, or like guys are just coming to you all the time to, see if they can date you, to have sex, whatever. Like you're pretty, you can just say yes or no. Like, how does that feel? When people are like, you have it easy because of that.
Yeah. I imagine it sometimes feels the same way that my own audience feels when they get certain types of advice and they feel gaslit. Like I constantly hear that by my audience. Like, you're gaslighting me, you're gaslighting me. And then I'm like, well, I feel gaslit by you, at the same time. Like,
What are some of the things that they feel a bit gaslit on? Like if you say stuff like, you can change, is it that sort of stuff?
yeah, a lot of them are just like, why are you kind of giving any semblance of like positivity? Because like the narrative is very much catered towards this idea that like women are hypergamous, and that this is just like a natural state that cannot be changed. And so when you try to test that or try to speak against that, they're just like, there's no way that can be real or authentic or this and that and the third. And like with the social media landscape, it can be hard to understand, but with reality, I find it's much easier.
Yeah. And this kind of gets back to our earlier discussion, doesn't it? Like our outer world tends to be a reflection of our inner state. Like when I was in the red pill
Yes.
here, I was living in the red
Yes.
pill out here.
Yes.
And a
Yes.
girl could be really, really freaking nice to me. And I would have all these stories going on about she's this, she's that, she's trying to manipulate me in some way. So, yeah, when I was downloading it here, I just looked for ways to make it come true out here. So, like, are you into men? Are you into women? Are you into both?
It's so funny. I've been asked that question so many times. I am into men. I am into men.
So I'm curious, at some point in your journey, did you like experience some hate towards men, or some of this kind of like what guys in your community are feeling about women, if they've been in the red pill, black pill, whatever? Like, did you feel some of that hate, or however you want to phrase it, resistance, resentment towards men?
I think when I was younger, I felt a little scared just of intimacy in general and of people in general. It wasn't even like a man thing to me. It was a fear, protecting myself overall. And I think a lot of that has to do with like parenting and those dynamics there. So yeah, I regarded dating, but not even just like dating men, like just dating in general, as a fear-based state, as a fearful problem. I sort of looked at it as something that takes your power away, not something that empowers you.
Like it's as if it's like us versus them, which
Yes.
is kind of the underpinning of a power dynamic. Yeah.
Yeah, people see that with like men versus women too, don't they? It's like one person has to win and the other person has to lose. And it's funny how like a lot of people will say the man always wins because he's bigger and stronger and there's a power dynamic there and it's not fair and all of that. And then other people say the woman always wins because she has options and she's pretty and he has to just go along with whatever. And like, I think maybe to your point that you were saying before, Amanda, I agree with you. A lot of society doesn't look at it as a mutually beneficial, like beautiful coming together of two people who add to each other's lives. They'll be like one person's going to win and you have to try and get from them before they get from you. And then maybe you're like what you call old school romance. I would call that more just like, I don't know, mutual companionship, like mutually adding to each other's lives. Like you're coming together and building something beautiful together. Whether that's casual, serious, marriage, doesn't matter. Like you're trying to make the other person's life better and they're trying to make yours better. I agree with you. A lot of people don't necessarily think that's even possible, let alone something that they try and do.
Yeah.
Curious, Amanda, do guys ever hit on you just like randomly, like during the day, or like if you go to a bar or something? Like, do you have guys like come up to you and be like, yo, you're pretty, where you can like clearly tell they're kind of hitting on you?
Honestly, not since the rise and fall of the Roman Empire, like as I like to say. No, like truthfully, no. I think there's so much anxiety and fear there with like I haven't had anybody approach me in a hot minute. Maybe in a past life, but it's been a minute.
How would you feel like if a guy does come up to you and, say they're honest, respectful, and maybe a bit awkward. They're like, hi, like, I thought you were really pretty, and hi, are you single? Like, how would you kind of respond to that? Or like, how would it make you feel?
I think that sounds super cool. I feel like it would make me super happy. Like, I think that that's totally dope. I wish that that was like more normalized within the culture.
You need like a little badge, Amanda. Wear a little badge saying like, please talk. Hi, like, please talk to me. I'm Amanda. Hi, my name is Amanda. Please say hello.
Yeah.
Do you like prefer it when, say, someone's like interested in you? Do you prefer it when they're up front, or do you prefer if they kind of like weave into it and they're like small talk for a while? Or do you prefer if they're just like, hey, like, okay, I'll be real, I thought you were really hot, and like, are you single? Like, which do you prefer?
I think like either could work, honestly. I think like both are fine, to be honest. I don't even really have like a direct preference. I think like anybody kind of making the initiative, whether it's direct or indirect, is still like them making the initiative. I think like being direct comes with a lot of great benefits, and I think it like makes a lot of sense. But if somebody were to hypothetically be like super indirect about it, like I don't think that that's, as long as they're not like so indirect to the point where you have no idea like why they're like interacting with you. I think that it doesn't matter, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
it's all
like at
just
some
talking to
point,
people,
you'd
right?
like
Like,
to know
Yes.
like what they're interested in. Yeah.
Yes.
to your point before, Amanda, like I talked to this woman yesterday and we ended up having like a 15-minute conversation. It was amazing. I got her phone number. We've been talking like we're going to grab a coffee together at some point. But when I talked to her, I just said like, you're so pretty. I wanted to say hi. Like, are you single? She specifically told me twice, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. Guys
Yes.
don't do this anymore. And she asked me the question. She's like, why don't guys do this anymore?
Yeah.
Like, why don't you guys do this? And I was like, well, because they're scared. Like, they
Yeah.
get told not to do this. And then women get told that they shouldn't be doing this and blah, blah, blah. And then we talked about slut shaming a little bit and how that applies to women and men. For women, the slut shaming is you had sex, that's bad. For men, the slut shaming is you talk to a woman and that's bad. So I think there's all these sort of reasons, but yeah, it surprises me and also doesn't surprise me when you say that like you don't really get hit on.
Mm-hmm.
Like I get it. I do get it.
Yes.
I mean, I guess, okay, my question to you is like, are you sure you haven't been hit on, but you weren't sure that it was so subtle? Like, because that happens sometimes. Like, hi, do you have directions to the bus stop? And it's like, buddy, you got Google Maps. You're just asking me that to talk to me, but he's like so indirect. Like,
Yes.
Yeah, or like that's a lot of smiling and eye contact.
No, and like no,
female flirting.
Yes. Yes. No, and I love that story that like you approached that woman and like even though she was in a relationship, like she like highly appreciated that because that just does not happen anymore. I'm positive, would bet my life on it, would bet my dog on it, and I love my dog, like that I've not been hit on. Like it just does not happen for me. I don't know why. I've been the one to start so many conversations. Not to hate though, not to hate, because it's actually I'm also so fearful. Because I guess like there's been times where eye contact has been like made, but nothing has happened like throughout my life experience. But like that's just the normality, especially if you're like Gen Z or whatever. Like Gen Z, like it's I don't know what is in our water, but our water says like no eye contact. And honestly, I some days like depending on the vibe, like I get that because that we're so accustomed to being like trained like a dog to be alone, like and to not even like connect on any sort of level.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little more about that? Like, how did you work up the courage to be the one that's actually starting those connections? Because I know, certainly a lot of guys, also a lot of women who would really like to be able to do what you're doing, but they're scared and they don't know how to do it. Like, how'd you work up the courage?
Honestly, I'm not like a greatest advocate for this because like honestly it'd be like after having a couple drinks with my friends while I'm out. Like it's not something that it's I'll say it's not been like conscious. Like I literally wish like there's been like quite many times where I've just like wished like even like if not romantically just to make a connection with somebody, and it feels like impossible some days for whatever the case. Like it literally just feels so out of this planet type of energy.
Yeah. And we're all feeling the same thing, aren't we? We all think that we're the only
Yeah,
one.
Amanda.
Isn't it so
Yeah,
funny what
yeah.
we do? You're doing a good job.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know why I don't talk
Amazing.
about this a lot. Like it's just like it's one of those weird
Because
things.
no one does. Not
Yeah.
no one, but most people don't talk about this. That's why. It's the same reason why you don't talk to strangers in the bar or on the street. It's the
Yes.
reason why people don't sit down at the cafe and be like, wow, you're so pretty. Or even just like, hi, I'd like to make friends. Do you want to be friends? Like,
Yes.
I think you're right. It's like if you look on the train, ready? I'm going to sound like a boomer here. This is like everybody on the train, just like literally like this, like all day on the train. Like I looked around a train the other day. I was on the train. There was like literally 99% of people. There was like a couple of old people not on their phone. Everyone else is. And like these things are magical. These things are literally the most beautiful thing I think we've ever invented. But we're also allowed to talk to each other when we go outside if we want to. And I think I have a spiritual coach, Keith, and he said this to me many times. He's like, maybe the entire point of like all of us falling into our phones right now is so that we can relearn how beautiful it is to actually connect in person.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we're going through almost this renaissance of like, let's go balls deep in technology and have Zuckerberg, like, and all those people, Musk and all of that, like grabbing our attention span. So we can do that for a while and go, this just made me feel depressed. Why don't I go say hi to people outside?
I agree. I have nothing to add. I'm curious, like this is more of a personal curiosity. I also asked one of our coaching clients, and he had a couple questions. So we both have this question for you. Like, did you ever help women with dating? Or did you ever consider doing like, am I clear in understanding, like you mainly coach people who are guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever like do it with women or think about coaching with women when it comes to dating and all this?
I think my impetus to getting into like this dating coach stuff was when I was in high school, and I gave like so many of my female friends like different like dating advice because like I was vicariously living through them, so I would like love to hear their stories in dating and this type of thing. My experience with talking to women is women can be really stubborn about somebody they love that's not good for them, to the point where it's like I'd literally rather work with work with men. Like no offense to women though, but that's the fully candid experience I've had. Like when a woman is hooked or locked in, like she's locked in. Like there's no stopping her until she comes to that decision on her own. Like an addict. Like you can't drop an addict off at like a sober recovery center unless they decide that on their own. I know it's a different type of atmosphere because with men it's advice about how to connect with people like firsthand, and with women it's advice about how to sometimes, again, this is like very candid, but it's like how to disconnect from a guy that's not good for you.
How was that for you, like watching them go through that? Because like obviously part of that is you love them, you want to be there for them, you want to help them. But like you said, people in love especially, I think men do it too, but like people in love, they don't necessarily listen to their friends and family. So how was that for you, just sort of sitting there and watching, I guess?
Um, like at times it was very frustrating because a lot of women in my social friend group didn't have the same boundaries that I guess I had. And that was so frustrating because I just want to come in and like protect them in the way that I'd protect myself. But it was a life lesson because like you can't do that. You have to let people, you have to let them, it's that let them theory. You got to let them figure it out. And because something isn't meant for your life existence, doesn't mean it's not meant for theirs. So I was like trying to, in a way, like disrupt like what was meant to be their experience, because I looked at dating so logically, which is why I can relate to men. Because like I think it's shocking how logically my approach has like been to dating as a woman, because in my experience, many women don't think like me. And I'm not even trying to sound like a pick me or something. This has almost been like a curse more than a blessing. Many women don't think like me and then don't hold the same boundary as me. But I'm not trying to sound like a hater or a pick me. Like this has just been my firsthand experience, but it's not even like they've needed to or wanted to. Like they have a different experience with dating and with life. So like the lessons that they will learn through connection, like mine was just out of fear. Like I couldn't connect how any of these women I was giving advice to. They were more brave than me in a certain regard. Yeah, if that makes any
Is
sense.
it is there a part of you that like kind of wishes you could almost like jump off the cliff like they did?
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Like
Like
when you say they were more brave, like, can you explain?
they were more willing to like um engage in ways that I was not willing to engage. They were more willing to do that. So like yeah, I looked at them so many times with like confusion, jealousy, envy, all those types of things. And I had to really work to understand that people have different protectors in this lifetime. And my parts couldn't allow me to do what they could freely do. If that makes sense.
What might really blow your mind is maybe their parts couldn't allow them to do what you would do.
Yeah, that's also true. That's also very
Like
true.
like the rational part of you, the part that's like, I'm kind of simplifying here, but it sounds to me like you're saying, I just want to take my time a bit with dating. I want to go a bit slower, get to know someone, form a connection, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to just jump off the cliff.
Yes.
Maybe for them, they're like, I would freaking love to be like Amanda, but I don't know how to pump the brakes on this. When this train gets moving,
When
it's
I
all
feel those
aboard
in
and
love
it's,
feelings, it's like, woo, here we go.
Yes. Yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes. Yes. And I hate to like bring up Freud, but a lot of it does play into the dynamics. Like mother and father dynamics like definitely like play a role. And I personally had a dad personally that really really regarded me as an intellectual human being, and held me to a standard of doesn't matter what you look like, what is your mind like? You know what I mean? And I think that played a huge role in how I approach dating in a really weird way.
Yeah. It sounds like the way your dad treated you in that way was like a pretty big gift. And
Yes.
to oversimplify it, maybe some of your friends didn't have that.
Yes. Yes. And I think that's a lot of what a lot of men don't understand. Like, why do women, do this or date like this type of bad guy? It's like a lot of it is how their father showed love, if not towards them, towards other women in front of them. If that makes any sense. And it, a lot of it does stem from that. And yeah, and if I were to give anybody advice, like, because when people have daughters, they're just like, oh, this is my daughter, like she's so pretty, she's so beautiful, like let me just regard her for her looks. But that can do a crap ton of damage in the society. And I wish more men held more space for the relationship that many daughters have with their father or lack thereof.
Oh yeah, God, I've said this so many times. Like, I'll say it in a sort of crass way. Like, I'm going to say this in a really crass way. I am the guy who cleans up the mess with girls with daddy issues.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's just how I phrase it. Like, I am the proxy father for a lot of like women that will come to me. Like, she wouldn't mind me saying this. One of the girls that I'm seeing right now. Actually, no, I don't want to say this. I don't want to say this, but like, it's very obvious that she has daddy issues. I'll just phrase it like that. And she's very upfront about that, literally. And I have literally been teaching her sort of, this is some of the stuff that you didn't get from your father. Here's how to respect yourself. Here's how to love yourself. Here's how to open up and show those parts of you that aren't just like you're pretty and all of that. So I get this. A lot of guys, I'm sure you know this in your audience, have mummy issues too and daddy issues. I am like the biggest, one of the guys with the most daddy issues on this planet, or it's something that I'm healing. But yeah, that's very common.
Yes. Yes. And like mommy issues also play a role because like, you know, I had issues with both my parents at a certain point, and especially my mom. So it is interesting how all that like plays a role. And one thing I wish is like more guys, like more men in the space held space for the fact that a lot of what drive, because like somebody will take like a woman like dating like somebody that's like not the best guy, and then they'll take that and be like, that's what women want. It's like, no, like we're all dating after our dynamics that are presented to us like within childhood that show us like what love should be, and also how do your parents love their own self. You know what I mean? Like that also plays a role. Like how does your mom love herself? How does your dad love himself? You know, I think that we forget that it's also like, how do our parents display self-love? Is it through the use of addiction? Are they drinking? Are they smoking? Are they never there? Are they disassociating? Like, you're going to take that on no matter what. Like, no matter what. Like, there's no stopping it, no matter how intellectual or cool you think you are. Like, there's no escaping the dynamic of which you were born.
Yeah, I like on your channel that you talk a lot about self-love. Like, I feel like it's so key.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if I can kind of make a takeaway, like a summary from everything you're saying, it's like you, Amanda, have had certain areas with this stuff where basically you learned the lessons like when you were really young, and you kind of speed ran that compared to other people who didn't like have that when they were young. They didn't get to speed run that. They're still learning the lessons right now. But there's other areas where you, Amanda, like you may have some stuff to learn still. And so isn't it kind of funny how we're all born with areas where we're like, you know, we have this gift in one area where we're like, we learned the lesson early on and we're strong in this other area, but then in this other area over here, like we're weak and we're still learning the lessons.
Yes.
And like, those are all kind of on different timelines, but like, and yay, bridging the gap. Like when we talk to each other, we can like offer little bits. We're like, oh no, I learned this cool little treasure. Here, I'll give it to you. Like, you need this treasure. That's a lot of what I'm hearing from you.
Yes, thank you. And I agree. And I love the bridging the gap analogy. I think it's great.
Andy, you mentioned like the self-love stuff, and it seems like you talk about that on your channel, Amanda. Like, do you find that self-love is helpful for people who are on this journey with, you know, dating and relationships, the people you talk to? Is self-love playing a big part in this?
Well, I think for a lot of people that are in super isolated states, it's almost like the relationship with themselves is all they have. So, like, they literally have to examine that in order to do anything, because that's literally all. A lot of people are stuck in a place where the only person that's there for them is themselves. So it's almost like a do or die self-love. Yes.
And a lot of them, like I've seen this in your audience, I've seen this in my audience, the only person they have is themselves, and that is an abusive relationship. Like they're in an abusive relationship with themselves. What do I mean by that? Like their self-talk will be like, I'm never going to find a woman. It's like, would you say that to another man?
Mhm.
Like that would be abusive. That would be insulting. They would probably punch you in the face if you said it to enough guys. Or you say no
Yeah,
one
like
wants
say
me. Would
what,
you say that?
like your
Yeah.
self-talk. Imagine saying it to your friend. Is that what you're saying here?
Mhm.
Yeah. You just hurt your friend. And so people don't know that they're doing that. They're innocent in that. But like, yes, I feel like maybe it's just a human thing that we are our own harshest critic. I am. I'm sure you two are as well. I guess what's your answer there? Like, how much of this do you balance with self-love? Or you're like, okay, look, you're not nice to yourself or you're a little unkind to yourself. Let's clean that up and get you talking more positively and all of that. Balance that, or maybe share that with going out there and talking to some women or going and making some friends, like having some external voices that are positive. I know your voice, Amanda, is trying to be positive in their life as well.
Yeah, I think that the biggest voice you have to change. I don't know why, like all the questions you guys are asking, I wish I like can turn into videos because this stuff is also good. But like literally the biggest voice that you have to change, you don't even have to love yourself. You just have to not want. So there's gonna be a part that's suicidal. I can't say the word on YouTube, but do you guys know what I'm talking about? There's gonna be a part of you that wants to end you. And as long as you can get that part to not want to end you, like tomorrow, then that's the start of your quote unquote self-love journey in my experience. Like it's you can't have a part that's trying to end you at the same time you have another part that's trying to heal you. So a lot of us that are needing to fix our self-love, it's actually we need to get to know the part that actually wants to end us. And it may not be like they're like, oh, like this part like wants to um like hang something on a shower, tomorrow and like end it, like a shower curtain tomorrow and like end it. Like the part may not be doing that, but it may be like, I'm gonna have you engage in this habit until you enter an early grave. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that like the best part about achieving self-love is getting the parts that want to end your pain to just calm down a little bit, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, you're talking about like the protective parts of you. You're very much talking like Carl Jung stuff right now. He talked a lot about like the shadow. And it's like there's two, I can't remember who said this. Maybe it was him who said there's two wolves inside of you. One wants you to win and the other one wants you to lose. And they're constantly like fighting each other. Like there is a self-destructive or a self-sabotaging, you would maybe call it self-protective part of all of us. And that is the part of you that says, like, if you see a cute girl on a train, I shouldn't go and talk to her because she'll probably call me a weirdo. That is the part of you that says, I shouldn't ask for a promotion at work because they'll think I'm too greedy and they'll reject me. That is the part of you that says, I'm not going to open up and share my true vulnerability because they will, like, judge me for it and then they'll reject me and all of that. And that part of you, it's not that it's sabotaging. It's just that it doesn't want you to take any freaking risks ever with anything. And it's like, great, if you never take a single risk ever, then just sit at home in the corner on the couch facing the wall and never leave the house. Like that's how you ultimately protect yourself. And I freaking love that you are willing to go to the like extreme version of this and say that part of you, if it's in enough pain, does want to end you. Like literally. Because if you never want to get rejected ever again, the only way to ever make that happen is to not exist. Like that is it. That is the only way that you can ever, never make a mistake, never get rejected, never get hurt. And so understand there is a self-protective mechanism inside you that will go to such an extreme that it will say, I'm never going to make friends. I'm never going to talk to people. I'm never going to ask for a promotion. I'm never going to work. I'm never going to leave the house. I'm not ever going to try at anything because then I might fail. And fuck, man, maybe I should just not even exist. And like you said, some of the ways that manifests is, so therefore I will just look at porn for 10 hours a day and play video games and I won't leave the house and that's all I'll do. Like that part of you is trying to keep you safe from any pain ever. And in doing so, I mean, that's not a happy life. That hurts. There's a quote from Byron Katie that says, don't be too careful. You might hurt yourself. And so I agree with you. It's almost like recognizing that part, accepting it, loving it, healing it, giving it a big hug and saying, look, self-protective part of me, the part of me that wants to sabotage, I love you. I'm going to look after you, but holy fuck, you are not making the decisions. I'm going to make the decisions. I'll listen to your input and I'll be there with you, but like you're not running the show because if you had your way, I would sit in the corner and do nothing and then I'd be very sad and lonely.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. Agreed.
Thank you both for going there. I appreciate your willingness to dive in. I think we'll probably finish up soon. I have 2 more juicy questions if you're down for it. So, Amanda, you have like this really cool, unique perspective on all this stuff because you are a woman and you've talked to a lot of women about dating, and you're also coaching men. Like, by the way, do you call yourself a coach or do you call yourself a guide? Like, what do you like?
Oh, I don't like, I think on paper I'm like technically like a dating coach, but in my head I like to think of somebody that's like healing relational attachment wounds, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely resonate with that. That's really awesome. Okay.
You are a healer, Amanda. Like, that is the word that I would use. Use whatever label you want, but that is like the word that I would use to describe you.
So having this beautiful perspective and like your work now is like healing men in these ways. So I'm curious, what do you wish most of your clients knew about growing up female and the female side of the dating experience? What piece do they kind of seem to be missing there about what it's like to be a woman?
I think what it's like to be a woman is to like, I think a lot of women deal with a lot of body insecurity issues than more men realize. So I think that that's something that I wish was like brought to the surface. Sometimes the most attractive women that you'll ever meet will have the most insecurities. In fact, like 100% will have the most insecurities about their body and about their face and about what they look like. So that's just something that I wish more men knew, is how much women struggle with their appearance.
Yeah. This is, if I can like jump on this for a second, this is something I have so much experience with because I like to ask the really vulnerable questions with women that I'm dating or sleeping with or in a relationship with, like especially when we're naked in bed, like either during or after sex, when there's that beautiful vulnerable moment in the afterglow. And one of the questions that I will often, or the discussions I will have, is I will say, do you want to be real with me? Do you want to be vulnerable with me? Here's a few things on my body that I'm insecure about. You know, I want to lose some weight around my tummy. I have some gray hairs in my beard. You know, I will share that stuff. And then I'll say, is there anything that you want to share? Is there anything you're insecure about? You are so unbelievably correct that the most attractive women that I have ever said this to are the ones that are the most insecure. And actually, it is the ones who, and I'm trying to say this in a non-judgmental way, the ones who like, I'll say it in a clumsy way, the ones who aren't like as attractive to me. They tend to be a little bit more secure because they're like, no, I know I'm not the hottest woman on the planet. That's fine. Like, I have my personality and all of that. And I think maybe the best example of this is, and she wouldn't mind me saying this because we've talked about how much she's comfortable sharing, and she's pretty comfortable. One of the women that I'm seeing right now, ridiculously attractive, like Taylor's seen her, like stupendously attractive, like insanely attractive. And we did this exercise. We were naked in bed. I was basically just freaking worshiping her body and saying, you are so unbelievably pretty. You're so beautiful. Like, oh my God, you're exactly my type, all of that. And we did this exercise and I said, what are you insecure about? And she kind of went a little bit quiet. And I said, okay, like what parts of your body do you like? And then she went very quiet. And I said, well, I'll tell you my insecurities. Here's what I'm insecure about, blah, blah, blah. And I said, is there any part of your body that you would change, that you wish was a little different? And she said, my whole body. And I was like, really? Like, what about your breasts? They're so fucking perfect. They're just everything I could. And no, I don't like them. I wish they were bigger. Okay, what about your tummy? No, it's fat. I wish I could lose some body fat. And like, Taylor, you've seen her. Like, she has no body fat. And like, freaking no body fat. But she feels like she does. And I was like, well, surely you know that you have a beautiful face. Like, you have the most incredible eyes, amazing smile. You're just so pretty. And she's like, no, I don't like my face. And I was like, is there any part of your body that you like? And the answer was like, no. And part of what has been healing her or helping her is I get her to sit in front of me naked in the mirror. We're both naked. I'm behind her giving her a hug and we're both facing the mirror. And we'll just gently go through each part of her body. And I'll get her to just say one thing she's grateful for with that part of her body. I do that with some of the male coaching clients too. I'm not physically doing it with them, but I tell them, get naked in front of the mirror, look at yourself, and just each part of your body say one thing you're grateful for. You don't have to love that part of your body. You don't have to think you're beautiful or attractive or whatever, but just start expressing a tiny bit of gratitude. But you are so unbelievably correct. Like, the most attractive people I have ever been with are the least secure. Like that's just almost a universal rule. And then, I mean, you tell me, how does that feel then? Because you are pretty. And I know that every time I say that to you, there's a voice in your head that's like, he's just saying that. Like, how does it feel to have maybe people assume the contents of your head and then not listen when you try and explain the contents of your head, like your insecurities and stuff?
I think it feels weird, like for sure. And it's one of those things like having a woman's body has been a battle in this lifetime. But I also think one of the surprising things about being in the spaces is that I'm not the only one. It seems for men, having a male body has been a battle in this lifetime, which is like just crazy because I always thought it was just like, oh my God, having a female body, like, it is like such a battle, but it turns out like also for men, it's also a battle. So, you know, there's something in the water there, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's funny how similar the how similar the struggles are when we can actually like admit what's going on in our heads. We're like, wait, you got that too? What the fuck? I thought, yeah, it's pretty funny.
Yes.
Yeah. I've had so many women that have said to me point blank, looking me in the eyes, saying this without a touch of irony, where they're like, men have insecurities. And I'm like, yeah, here's like 10 of my insecurities. And they're like, wait, do other men have these insecurities? And I'm like, yeah, no shit, of course they do. All my coaching clients do, all my friends do. And they're like, but you guys are big and strong. Like, why do you guys have insecurities? And it's like, that is one of the biggest insecurities that we have. We're supposed to be big and strong. Same with women. It's like, you're supposed to be pretty and happy and feminine and all of that. And they're like, why are you girls insecure? Because of that. Because I'm not supposed to have insecurities. I'm supposed to just shut the fuck up and be pretty. And men are just supposed to shut the fuck up and be strong. It's a lot of pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So let's flip the coin, and you've gotten to get like real with a lot of men through this process of being a healer. And so what is something that you think a lot of women don't really realize about the experience of being born male and growing up male? Would it be the same one, or is there a different one?
I think it's how isolated men are. I think men really do have like almost like an innate lack of access to dealing with their emotions. So I think a lot of women don't understand that a lot of men are on this die or try type of road. Like a lot of men are holding in so much of their pain and have not talked about it for so much of their life. Like men maybe take like a 35-year-old man, like he maybe never had one honest, vulnerable conversation in his life. And that's like the norm to find among men. And I think like women, you know, started having vulnerable conversations with other women from like the age of like 12. So that can be hard to understand, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and something you said in a video, I can't remember which one, you said men lack the vocabulary to talk about their emotions. I think that's like perfect way of phrasing it, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. I don't think women necessarily understand how emotionally hidden most men are.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, these are really beautiful, and obviously we're talking in like general terms here. These are kind of broad brush strokes, but what do you think are like, if we had to sum up a way for people to feel seen in these different areas we just talked about, like, do you have a recommendation? You know, if you're a woman and you're insecure about your body and you think like no one understands this, especially not guys, and if you're a guy and you lack a little bit of the emotional vocabulary and you're like no one understands this, especially not women, like
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I can't talk to anyone. Like,
Mm-hmm.
do you think the answer is, I don't know, just is it to talk to each other, or what do you think?
That's a good question. Andy, do you have an answer first while I think?
Well, you can't throw it to me here. Okay, fine. Yeah, honestly, I think that. Like, that's all. I can just speak to what helped me. I just asked a bunch of women, like every single woman that I ever dated or even just went on a date with, I would specifically say questions like, what is it like to be a woman? And at first they're like, I don't know. And I was like, no, 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 come on. Like, seriously, can we please try and figure this out? I really want to know what it is like to be you. And they'd be like, I don't know. I guess I feel insecure. Like, that was the most common answer I got. And then they would say to me, what is it like to be a man? And I'd be like, yeah, that is hard to answer. I don't know. I've always been a man. I guess it feels like this, and there's pressure, and there's stress, and there's anxiety. And we would just share that stuff. And what I kept finding was their answers were exactly the same as mine. It's just we slightly shifted the variables around. Like they would talk about body insecurity, like you said. And then I was like, well, I have that too. They would talk about pressure to always look like you have your shit together. And I was like, no way you girls feel like that. And you're probably thinking like, yeah, of course we feel like that, Andy. And I was like, I thought that was just men that had to have their shit together. They would talk about pressure to keep up appearance. And I was like, I thought that was just men. They would talk about like getting slut shamed. And I'd be like, but I get shamed if I go and have too much sex. I'll get called a fuckboy. And my threshold is higher. Like I'll get pats on the back and high fives until a certain point, and then I'll get slut shamed. And so we're both getting slut shamed. And just the more I talked about this stuff, I realized, oh my God, we're both just humans. And it's less about men versus women. And so that would be my answer is just like go out and genuinely with actual like non-judgmentalism as best you can, ask questions of the other gender or the other race or the other whatever and see what their experience is like. And then when you do that, try not to compare. What you're trying to do is look for the similarities, not the differences. Like if I'm trying to build a connection with someone, I look for the similarities. I don't go in there and try and freaking find the differences. So that's my 2 cents. Hopefully that was enough time for you to procrastinate and give a good answer to.
No, yeah, I agree. I agree with everything that you said. Yeah, I agree. I don't I'm trying to think if there's something else I can add to that. Uh yeah. Yeah, no, nothing that comes to mind.
You mopped it up, Andy. Good job. You cleaned house there.
Yeah,
I'm
sorry
gonna
to
just
steal
jump
your
right on
answer.
with
Yeah.
Amanda and say I agree totally. Like I totally agree. Like it's so crazy when you go out there and you start talking to people, men and women, and you're like, wait, you have the same thing? Like what the fuck? Like men have insecurities about their bodies. Like women, I've talked to a lot of women that are like, yeah, I can, like, I have the emotional vocabulary and I can kind of like go pretend deep, but I can't go deep, deep with my female friends. And so it's like, what the fuck? Like, we're all struggling with these same things. Like, that was my takeaway too. Is like,
Yeah.
we all just have so much in common when it comes to this stuff.
That's such a great point too, because I think that like female friends and like that type of community, it's more normalized socially for women to have women to talk to emotionally. However, at the same time, there is that aspect of a lot of this generation as a whole, from like the macro level, struggles to be vulnerable and to open up with each other. And I think that also like can trickle into obviously women and friendships with other women as well, for sure.
Yeah, almost like Taylor said, there's like different levels to honesty and vulnerability. I think we're all so used to being like a little bit vulnerable,
Mhm.
but there's a whole other level. Like Taylor and I have been doing this in the last couple of like days, actually, like sharing all the really what you might call dark parts of ourselves. Like literally, here is the stuff that I've never told another human being ever, and I've been ashamed about since like I was 12 or something. Here you go. I'm telling you this. Please don't hate me. Like I've done that with a bunch of my friends. He's done that as well with a few people. And like that has been so unbelievably healing. And we're not necessarily suggesting everyone go out there and share the dark parts of your soul. But at the same time, it can really help to go out there and share the dark parts of your soul. It's nice. It's freeing.
Yeah, it really has been good, and yeah, you have a filter for a reason, but like you kind of know the people that you can go deep with. And like if you don't feel like you have that in life, like I think maybe to kind of circle back to what we were saying in the beginning, like, can you be that for someone else? Like, can you work on being that? We all judge to some degree, but can you work on being a little less judgmental? Can you work on being a little more loving? And that makes it a hell of a lot easier to do that with someone else. So I think we're going to finish up now. I appreciate both of you so much for being willing to dive in deep and get in there. I think the gap has fully been bridged. Can we just end this series now? Gap bridged.
What?
Men and women on the same team eternally now?
This is what...
Fully?
No, we're going to do this more.
Okay, the gap is still being bridged. Thank you both for working on it with me.
Thank you. Amanda, do you want to shout out your channel? Where can people find you?
Oh, yes. Girlfriend Guide number 4, guys, on YouTube. Thank you so much for having me. I highly, highly appreciate it.
Appreciate you.